What's going on, guilty guys and gals? Welcome back to Ace Attorney. Apparently this was the voice I gave Magnus McGilded. If you didn't remember, I kind of forgot it last time, but apparently this is what it was. To be sure I have, my lord.
There are now two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin, as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police?
Begad, no, 'tis not my nature to hide anything at all.
Just answer the questions, please.
The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. I do tell yous all, or do I keep my mouth shut?
Tell us what, Mr. McGilded?
The fine fella representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger.
It's true?
Aye, it was me who helped the little urchin get away after it all happened.
You... What?
No, Magnus McGilded. That convenient excuse can't save you now.
I'm truly sorry, I am, Lord Vanzox. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken in by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you.
Which was?
Also, sorry if my, this episode's a little weird. I'm recording it quite late because I had a long exam today. It was so long. 4 essays? Anyway.
Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and not in any way involved, you see.
What?
If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into this here courtroom just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord.
And who was this young child of whom you speak?
That, I don't know.
You don't know?
Ah, well, the wee ting just happened to be in the carriage that night. Never saw her before or since.
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witness's statements to be disregarded by the court.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings.
What?
Well, I think I'm dead.
Fire, there's a fire. Look, someone's trying to get away. Cough after them. It's no use. Cough, cough. I can't see anything through the smoke. What's going on?
Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Cover your face.
Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus. I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom.
Okay.
Maybe you guys shouldn't have used so much fire in your court proceedings.
We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in their desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. Okay, well, I guess I missed, the to be continued by, what is that, 4 minutes? Great. I guess I'll save, why not? Actually, I can save whenever I want. I don't really have to do this anymore. Is that... I don't know who it would be. What on earth just happened in there?
Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened.
Wow, that's very convenient. I just asked. Miss Usato.
I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke.
A smoke grenade? That sounds like the sort of thing ninjas use.
They're just making sure everything is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long.
But who would have done something like that?
The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom, apparently.
Flee the courtroom? Why?
Well, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear.
A young girl? Then could it be the other passenger that Mr. McGilded was just talking about?
My thoughts exactly.
So he wasn't lying. Oh, what's become of Mr. McGilded, actually? There are so many things I need to ask him about, but he's not here.
I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with the young girl.
Who is she, I wonder? And what was she even doing here at the trial? She was taking a huge risk, and for what possible benefit to herself? Taking a drink?
There's another matter that's troubling me.
What's that?
The 20 pence.
Oh,
According to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 4 passengers that night at a fare of 5 pence each. That comes to a total of 20 pence, exactly. But now it seems there were in fact
5 passengers.
Which means the figures don't seem to add up again.
She's right. That is strange.
Unless they were all covering for her, even fair play. I could totally see the other ones, but I don't know about fair play. Which, oddly enough.
Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed to the courtroom. The trial will recommence in 5 minutes.
Oh, thank you, officer. We'll go in straight away.
Well, whoever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the whole direction of the trial.
We'll know soon enough, Mrs. Otto.
Yes!
Okay.
'18th of February.
Oh. Okay. I think I've seen her somewhere before. I don't know where, though. So, hey.
There's the young girl next to Mr. McGilded. Look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance before.
Why does she have smoke bombs?
Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord Van Zykes.
My lord.
I believe you've established the cause of the smoke which veiled proceedings earlier.
It seems to have been an advanced form of smoke grenade, the sort typically employed by the army.
Good gracious! The army? What in the devil's name?
It was an elaborate attempt by a young girl to cloak her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught. And now occupies the stand.
Your name, girl?
What voice am I going to do for her?
Are you responsible for the smoke grenade which induced such pandemonium here in my courtroom?
I invoke the 5th.
What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior?
Ahem, if I may, my lord.
Yes, Mr. McGilded.
I think perhaps I ought to explain here. Why is it that this wee lass was here in the first place, and why she tried to bolt like that? 'Tis all tied up with the events of that night, so it is.
Very well, Mr. McGilded, give your testimony. You will explain to the court exactly how this young woman is involved in this case.
Man, if she is responsible for it, that would be 3 young girls in a row. Giselle Brett. What was her name? Nikola Pavlova. And then this one.
Just what did happen that night? It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything. It'd be nice if you'd tell me beforehand instead of just telling a prosecutor.
On the night in question, I took a back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off.
Then, begorra! A loud thud and a wee scream woke me up with a fair start. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at my feet, so I sat him up on the seat across from me. Then I turned to find out where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find? There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away. Okay.
I don't think that really explained anything. I remain somewhat baffled, I confess, but from what I gather on the night in question, this young girl was indeed riding in the omnibus, is that correct?
'Tis exactly as the defense counsel said. This last was the 5th passenger, my lord. I like her plaid leggings. It's funny.
The defense may now cross-examine the witness. Are you ready, counsel?
Yes, my lord. Or rather, no. I have no idea where to start.
I love that, like, I like look off into the distance. Alright. On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off.
And when you first got into the omnibus, were there any other passengers already on board?
There were not. The cabin was empty, and there was no one on the roof deck either.
You were the first passenger, as it were. I see.
And that's why I took the back side as I did. 'Tis the most comfortable, so it is.
Could you explain exactly what you mean by the back seat?
By all means, 'tis how you already described it earlier. I'm talking about the seat opposite the one in which the poor gentleman who was stabbed was sitting. Like I said, 'tis the most comfortable and where I feel the most at ease. And of course, I enjoy gazing through the skylight from time to time as well.
Okay.
Is that like a... That must be an antiquated, like, slang word, right?
A loud thud, you say? And a scream?
That's right. How can I explain it? 'Twas like the sound of someone falling to the ground. That sort of noise.
So, you think it was the sound of Mr. Mason falling to the floor after being stabbed?
Well, now, you'll remember I was asleep at the time, so I wouldn't like to say. And when the sound woke me, I opened my eyes. There wasn't a soul to be seen in the carriage but the fellow on the floor.
You didn't see anyone? But at that same moment, you did hear a scream.
From the seats above you on the roof deck, I presume.
Not above me, no, my lord. 'Twas from inside the cabin. But I wasn't altogether thinking about the scream. No, I was too stunned by the desperate sight before me eyes.
Suppose that's fair. You sat him up? The victim, you mean?
That I did. On the seat across from me, as I said, I could plainly see the poor devil was already gone. And you wouldn't leave a dead man just lying on the floor now, would you? 'Tis common courtesy, so it is.
I find that a little hard to believe.
Arrah. Lord Van Zykes, now why would that be?
You wake to find a man lying dead at your feet in a carriage. Any normal person would hail the cabman. Any upstanding member of London society, that is.
I don't think I like what you're insinuating. Well now, as you know, I'm something of a special line of business.
The business of lending money at exorbitant rates of interest?
Unfortunately, my lord, not everyone is thankful for the help I offer 'em, and some would even see me dead. So I do try, where at all possible, to avoid getting myself in a tangle with trouble.
Are you suggesting you were just gonna leave him there?
Heavens, no! I was always intending to report it, so I was. Only, I had mind to find out the whys and wherefores first.
The whys and wherefores?
Right you are. There were some details I wanted to understand before anyone else got to meddling. That wee scream I heard, for example. Wouldn't your good self do just the same?
Yes. The scream he says he heard at the same time as the thud of the victim collapsing.
Then I turned to find out where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find?
I'm afraid I don't understand. I'm sure you told the court there was no one else in the carriage except yourself and the victim.
So I did, sir, so I did. As far as I could see, that is.
What do you mean by that?
Well, now, 'tis a queer thing.
He means weird, just like the Flintstones theme song.
The wee scream I heard when I woke up. It came from my, if you excuse the vulgar expression, under me backside.
Good gracious!
Under your backside?
And when I lifted the seat on which I had been here sitting, I found there was a wee cubbyhole there for storage.
Mr. Naruhodo, we can examine the omnibus ourselves, remember?
Yes, of course. The whole bus was submitted as evidence.
This would be a very good time to have a thorough look around inside.
And that's when I found her. There was a child in there all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away.
Okay. let's look at the omnibus then. Go inside. Yeah. Naruhodo. So if that's where the man was, it'd be under here.
The seat has a handle, it seems.
There is a cubbyhole.
This is a storage compartment, but there's nothing in here. It's totally empty. Something doesn't seem right here, but I can't put my finger on what it is.
How about the other one? Oh, it doesn't have a storage. Very neat. Okay.
You say she was hiding herself.
Aye, that's right. 'Twas hard to see in the dim lamplight, but she was all curled up in a wee ball. When our eyes met, well, me heart nearly stopped beating in my chest.
You're really overreacting to this. Or overacting this.
Still and all, I pulled her out from under there and sat her on the seat opposite so I could have a wee chinwag with her.
The seat opposite?
That's right, just next to the dead gentleman.
You sat this young girl next to a corpse, sir?
Well, as I'm sure I mentioned, a gentleman in my position can all too often find himself in mortal danger. So, I needed to find out just who this urchin was, you see. And while I was in the middle of talking with her, I heard another scream, fella's voice this time.
Presumably, that scream was Mr. First, who was sitting on the roof deck seats.
Right you are again, I would say, sir. Looking down through the skylight, he must have seen this young girl and the gentleman with the knife in his belly.
In other words, the previous witness did not in fact see you at all, Mr. McGilded. What they believed to be yourself and the victim was in fact this girl and the late Mr. Mason?
What?
Aye, my lord. I was, as I think everyone understands now, sat at the back of the carriage at a sight.
It is certainly plausible. The defendant is somewhat diminutive in stature, and readily confused, perhaps, with this young girl.
After that, of course.
Sure.
With the scream from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and pulled up the horses.
Thank you. I've heard enough. The events as explained are clear in my mind. However, at least one conundrum remains. Who is the girl?
Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds for leaving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket.
What?
This girl? Here? A petty thief? How'd she get her hands on a smoke grenade? Well, I guess I won't ask. Order. If this is true, Miss Lestrade.
Where do I know that name from? Lestrade. Sounds familiar. Is there a famous person with that last name?
Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question.
She's got a...
Order! How dare you? What is the meaning of this? Oh, the girl! She's gone!
Open your eyes! I'm over here.
Good gracious, how?
What was the point in that little sidestep?
I know what you lot are thinking. Grown-ups are all the same.
This dirty little dipper, you'll say, slipped in and got caught on the job. She got herself backed into a corner, so she knifed the gin. Go on! That's what in your heads, ain't it?
No, not at all. This is a court of law. We're here to determine the truth, not
Oh, the coin. I love that.
Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need for what I do is these fingers. I'm a professional, all right. Maybe not in your eyes. I got pride in what I do.
Let me guess. You don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs?
Oh, this? Yeah, this was in a bag I lifted the other day. Down where they keep the four-wheel drags.
Oh, I wonder who it is. Whose it is.
Nice, innit? I like the pink best.
Oh, do not wave that thing in my direction again.
So, you admit that you were riding the omnibus on the night in question?
'Tis all right, lass. You can tell him the truth now. All right, yeah. It's just like the Irishman said.
The court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in the case. Accordingly, young lady, we will now hear your testimony, if you please. You will tell the court exactly what happened in the omnibus that night in question.
All right, if I have to. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. But it was right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for my troubles that night. I tell you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch dark in there. Then, after a while, I heard this loud bang. Nearly jumped out of my skin, I did, and the scream just came out. It's because of that this swell found me. He did help me get away, mind.
Yes, he let you go.
I fail to understand why you would let this street urchin go, Mr. McGilded.
Oh, 'tis simplicity itself, my lord. You see, she couldn't possibly have killed the other passenger. I knew that for a fact.
How?
As I'm sure I said before, sir.
Apparently he's Irish. It's not happening.
I was sitting right on top of the place where she was hiding herself.
I think a demonstration is called for.
What, you're gonna make her get back in there?
This is where I sat that night.
And the cubbyhole of which you've spoken is underneath this seat, I presume. Yes. It does appear to be just large enough to accommodate someone of this girl's stature.
Aye, but of course, the wee lass was stuck in there. 'Cause I had parked myself on the seat for the duration.
Oh.
So you see, that's why I let the lass bolt. I knew that if the police found her in there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself if a young life was ruined when all the time I knew she was innocent.
Even though you must have realized your action resulted in your own innocence being called into question?
Not at all, my lord, not at all. I knew in my own heart that I was innocent. So I thought it was worth taking a punt on my own good name for the sake of this less fortunate lass. My goodness! What a perfect gentleman!
My lord, this fine example of a man cannot possibly be guilty of a heinous crime like this. I'm ashamed of myself for ever doubting you, sir.
I mean, that's good for us, but you guys are a little too trusting, I think.
With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time.
What does Von Sykes have to do now that we've got all innocents?
Saints alive! All 6 members of the jury consensual in their leaning to a verdict of not guilty?
Mr. Naruhodo, this, well, it must mean...
It must mean what?
That we're victorious.
We've won? Are you sure?
Yeah, no way. If the sight of my iron-heeled Wellington offends, pray, do forgive the discourtesy.
The girl.
This really is a consummate example of the one monumental flaw in British judicial practices.
Are you gonna say the jury?
Where evidence and reasoning should be paramount, emotion rules the day.
Emotion?
The witness's last statement gives us a clear insight into his true nature.
What do you mean, his true nature?
Do you really think Scotland Yard would have made such a glaring omission? After the incident, the omnibus was comprehensively searched by officers of the police. Obviously, the interior of this cubbyhole, as the witness put it, was included in their investigation. The compartment under the posterior seat was full of the coachman's belongings. It's noted in black and white here in the police report. Good Lord! The evidence has been tampered with. In order to corroborate Mr. McGildy's story, someone has unlawfully removed everything from underneath the seat.
What?
Order, order! How could such a devious contrivance possibly have been effected, counsel? Naturally, we must acknowledge the deficiencies of the constabulary in allowing this to have happened. However, I assure you, when the omnibus was wheeled into the courtroom this morning, the compartment under the seat was not empty. Well, my Nipponese friend?
Huh? Me?
When the carriage was submitted as evidence, doubtless you examined it in fine detail, as would any self-respecting practitioner of the law. Pray, what did you find the condition of the underseat compartment to be?
Oh, to be sure, the young gentleman will be able to clear this up in a jiffy.
Sorry?
Go ahead. You tell the court now, fella. How this is all an elaborate excuse by the desperate Lord Van Sykes.
Well, counsel, do you have something to say on this matter?
How am I supposed to answer? What can I say about the state of that little compartment under the seat in the omnibus?
I mean, the truth is, obviously, I didn't look, but, you know.
Could I commit perjury?
I feel like the truth of this matter is something of a tragedy, but we shall see.
Sorry, I'm a failure. I didn't look. Why didn't I examine the omnibus more thoroughly?
Perhaps I credited you with too much intelligence. It seems, my lord, that this Eastern initiate is as unreliable as wine from the barrel.
Hey, I've never ridden in one of those things before.
Mr. Naruhodo.
Well now, it would seem the argument is moot. And the truth of the matter is there for yous all to see after all. That there cubbyhole under the seat is as empty as the devil's heart, so it is.
Why? Why do I feel like something's not right here?
I should like the jury to weigh in on this matter, I think.
The flask.
I need to be more inebriated to make a good decision. The compartment is designed to house equipment used to maintain the smooth running of the carriage. The Guild rules state that omnibuses should be properly and fully equipped at all times. So it certainly wouldn't have been empty on the night in question. Beppo isn't that irresponsible. That money-lending fleecer and the pick purse are lying.
Oh,
I can't believe I was nearly taken in. That stinking rich are always stinkers. Nothing but cowards, the lot of 'em.
What? Oh no.
It's a trick. Of course it's a trick.
Quite so. I must concur here. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time.
As you've said 3 times. Yes, but every time is a different truth, it seems.
And now our trial will go on. My lord, I humbly exhibit the scales of justice. Clearly, a verdict of not guilty at this time would be wholly inappropriate. Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there is the matter of the outstanding cross-examination. Counsel for the defense, begin your questioning of the witness, please.
Yes, my lord. What just happened? The whole balance of the trial just shifted, almost beyond recognition. The Reaper of the Bailey is at work, it would seem.
Did I forge evidence? You'll never know. Unless you will.
So I snuck inside this carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always.
So, you were already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run?
Well, yeah. I mean, what's the point of spending a Joey to make a few bob, eh? That's a rum idea, ain't it?
I suppose she means there's no point in spending money to make money. It actually makes sense. Not really.
Counsel, may I remind you that this girl is a petty thief? Kindly refrain from entertaining her tenants.
Well, that does clear up the little mystery of the fares and all. 4 paying passengers at 5 pence apiece, making the 20 to which the cabman testified. And 1 little scapegrace riding for free. The red conk of the driver always goes for some grub before his last run, you see. That's when I slip into the carriage and get myself hidden under the seat, nice and easy, right?
But your hiding place is a storage compartment, full of equipment for the coach, no?
Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. I always chuck all that out and cram in a corner somewhere. No one ever seems to bother much.
And yet, according to the report filed by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia.
Well, I don't know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all that stuff out so I could hide under the seat. That's all I can tell you.
It seems we've reached the end of that line of inquiry. Continue.
But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night.
If you do it all the time, you'd think you'd know that it'd be a bad idea. A waste of time? Why is that?
Well, most nights I'm on my own in the God permit.
Okay, I'm just gonna read it. I don't understand it, but I'm just gonna read it.
Well, most nights I'm on my own in the God permit. It's at least some of the time.
I beg your pardon? Did you say God permit?
Oh yeah, well, that's what me kind call it. You say the omnibus, I suppose. Point is, any normal round, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while.
And that's when you come out of your hiding place and get away?
That's it. Only that night. This cove was sat on me seat from the start. And he didn't budge the whole way, did he? Not even an inch. I was totally stuck.
Do you mean to tell us that you were present in the carriage for the duration? You were under the seat the entire time while the events unfolded in the enclosed cabin?
Yeah. Right, mister? To be sure. I was as shocked as anyone. You don't expect to lift the cushion you've been sat on and find a child now, do you?
So this Miss Lestrade couldn't possibly be the culprit then.
You know what? I'm gonna search it up. Where do I know that name from? It's something. It's gonna burn away at me if I don't put it in the video. And then people will comment about it. They probably already have, let's be honest. Give me Lestrade. Why do I remember that?
Oh. Detective Inspector G. Lestrade is a fictional character appearing in several of the Sherlock Holmes stories. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that's why. I remember it.
I tell you, can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch black in there.
So you couldn't see out of the cabin at all?
Not a jot. Most days I push the cushion up with me head and look out the crack. Then I can have a butcher's to do 'em on a fiddle.
I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher.
I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under ain't as plush as the other one, see? So most of the time, the passengers plan themselves opposite. But for some reason that night, this here Irishman spent the whole journey right over me head.
And for that reason you weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out, I see.
Truth is, I ain't too happy in small dark places. Feels too much like being thrown in the clink. But it's the only place to hide in them carriages, so it's opposite choice.
Why doesn't she just stick to picking people's pockets in the open then? I'd say there's some reason she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor.
So anyways, I was a bit scared, but I had to just stick it out under there. Nothing else for it.
Claustrophobia. I get that. Yeah. I have a funny relationship with claustrophobia because imagining tight spaces makes me nervous, but actually being in them doesn't. Like, I don't know. It's just how it works. Like, if I was in I guess that's more my fear of the ocean, though. I was going to say, if I was in, like, a box and then thrown into the ocean, it would be terrifying. But that's more because I'm in the ocean, I think. If I was just in a box and then left on land, I think I'd be fine. Anyway. When you say a loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor?
Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember so well. Point is, it made me jump.
And you let out a scream, involuntarily?
That's right. And then I felt the cushion over me head get lighter all of a sudden.
Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes. Or not. It could equally have been the moment the accused stood in order to stab his victim, could it not?
Well, girl, did you see what happened at that crucial moment?
Yeah, I saw it. I pushed up the cushion and had a quick butcher's while I had the chance, didn't I? The Irishman was sitting up the bloke who'd fallen on the floor on the seat opposite. That matches Mr. McGilty's account, of course. But then, the fella suddenly turns around and looks right at me. I sunk back down again, but it was too late by then. I should have never have risked looking. It's because of that, this swell found me. He didn't help me get away, man.
Yeah, if he didn't find you, you would have been stuck and accused, probably. And when Mr. McGilda discovered you, he pulled you out from your hiding place?
I was scared stiff, I was. He dragged me out and sat me down on the seat and all.
Next to the victim, Mr. Mason?
Yeah, the bloke had the knife in his guts. He was, still bleeding. Then the carriage lurched a bit and he ended up falling onto me. Oh, how awful. Both me hands got covered in blood. Made me feel sick as a dog.
Both her hands covered in blood. That must be what the rooftop passengers saw. After that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilden for a while, is that correct?
He asked me some stuff. Wanted to know me name and what I was up to and all that. Then I heard something from up above. Somebody screamed.
Yes, Mr. First on the roof deck, one would presume.
Well, I didn't want no one seeing me face, so I didn't look up. Then the horses were drawn up smartish, and this here Irishman says to me, "Get back under the seat. I'll see that you can get away later." All 6 members of the jury had decided the defendant was innocent.
For one brief shining moment, yes.
It's clear that they're all still very unsure. If we could just find some conclusive piece of evidence among this new testimony, I'm sure we could clinch the verdict we want.
Yes, I think you're right. And I have this niggling feeling Something's bothering me, but I just can't quite put my finger on it.
Okay, so it's not a press thing. I haven't actually looked at the evidence in quite a while, so... Oh, wait a second. He's missing a yellow button. We don't know his name. Hold on. How do I get to the... I don't think I can look at profiles right now. But it was right, I'll waste time, nothing to show. Tell ya, can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch dark in there. I need to hear this loud bang. It could be that. It could be like if she heard that loud of a bang, would the people up top not hear it? But I don't know about that. Can I look at this for a sec? No? Okay. Okay. Well, let me skip through this because I apparently haven't got it before.
Oh. It's the only panic-stricken look I know. You're asking me to get a new one?
Before they hooked up the horses. It was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for my troubles that night. I can tell you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch dark in there. After a while I hear a loud bang, and then I screamed, and because of that, this guy found me. I really don't see it. It's got... Okay, hold on. Let me look at this again. Loud bang. See, that looks... Could have been. I don't know. It's got to be that statement, right? That's the only one where it's like there's like a ounce of... What else could it have been? I have no idea. There could be something in here, I suppose. Ooh, magnifying glass. Ooh. The missing button. I have no clue what this could be. Let's just see what Naruto has to say about all of their statements, because it might give me the hint I'm looking for. Okay. That doesn't show up the first time you press it? You have to do it again? Okay. Unless I just missed that statement, but I don't think I did.
Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel?
I'm just wondering if Miss Lestrade's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. You seem to be thinking something to yourself.
Oh, no. 'Twas nothing important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. 'Twas terrifying, so it was.
I see. Yes, I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark now.
And I don't know about yourself, but I find that the darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Yeah. I suppose it does, maybe.
Miss Lestrade, did you hear something that night? Anything? An unusual noise, perhaps?
Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring.
Pajamas! Pajamas!
There's no need to tell the whole world of me foibles, you little scamp. What a pity. If only Miss Lestrade had heard something, it might have given us a vital new clue.
Yes. What should we make of that last statement of hers?
She heard nothing? She didn't hear the guy being stabbed? It's not like he would die instantly.
My lord, I believe that statement just made by the witness is profoundly important.
Profoundly important, but all she said was that she heard nothing.
Yes, which is a profoundly important point. I'm almost sure of it.
I'm almost sure I don't understand the inner workings of your Eastern mind, Counsel. Nevertheless, Miss Gina Lestrade, you will supplement your formal testimony by repeating the last statement, please.
What do you mean encoder overloaded? It's been fine this whole time. Stop it. I just have to freaking pause for like 3 seconds and then stop and it'll... Yep, there we go.
You will supplement your last formal statement.
What? Supplement? What do you want about? Don't give me all your fancy talk. I know what you're trying to do. It won't work on me.
That's right. Insult the judge. Always a good move.
I was straining my ears to work out what was going on, but all I could hear was snoring.
Okay, come on. It's gotta be the fact the man freaking died. Right? No? What do you mean? You're telling me he wouldn't call out at all after getting stabbed? You don't die instantly from getting stabbed in the gut. I won't lower my hand until I prove my client's innocence. Yeah, that's a good statement. Okay.
So you were straining to hear what was happening the entire time, since the moment you hid yourself?
Not exactly, no.
Sorry?
Well, there was no one in the cabin to start with. I could just push the cushion up and have a butcher see what was what. But then, when I saw this swell getting on, I had me head down so he wouldn't notice me.
And Mr. McGill had sat on the seat under which you were hiding, correct?
Yeah. What do you Adam and Eve at, eh? What a mug. So then, all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out of there as soon as I heard him leave, see? But, would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped here and there, I never heard the door open. So I had to just stay put and listen to
I'm driving. He's pigs to market, snoring like a dog he was.
Are there any conclusions we can draw from that, I wonder?
Seriously? I swear if this is what it is.
Miss Lestrade, what you just told the court, is it clearly at odds with the facts?
Eh?
At odds? Are you sure, man?
Absolutely.
It seems my learned Nipponese friend is not as dull-witted as I feared.
So Van Sykes realized it too.
Counsel, I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence, or some complicit party's name, in the very least.
Yes, my lord.
I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court.
According to Miss Lestrade, while she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she heard nothing but the sound of Mr. McGildy's snoring. But think, Riensuke, think! Psh, psh. There's something else she should have heard.
It's going to be show a person, and it's going to be him, right? Right? I'm going to save just in case. I can't think that I would be wrong about the man screaming when he got stabbed to death, but you never know.
Very well, my lord. Allow me to elaborate on a particular sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear on that night in question. The sound fairly clearly explained by the presence of the following person.
Oh, so that's how I had to do it. Really? Okay, whatever.
Thrice fired, Mason?
Yes, my lord. The sound that Miss Lestrade cannot have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus.
Not getting stabbed. Oh, okay.
Order! Explain your reasoning, counsel.
Miss Lestrade, allow me to confirm something. You claimed earlier that you were the first person on board the omnibus, is that correct?
Yeah, of course I was. I got on when the driver was on the pub, didn't I?
And the next person to board the omnibus was Mr. McGildy.
That it was. Not a soul in the cabin when I climbed aboard. At least, not in plain sight.
So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at that time.
Did I not just say as much? I wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I saw him get on, remember? Through the crack under the seat cushion. He was on his own, for sure.
And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey. That's a bit of awkward phrasing. During which time, did you not hear the door opening or closing at all?
Nah, I never heard it. That's exactly what I was listening for, weren't I? Waiting for this swell to leave.
In which case, when and how did the victim end up in the carriage?
Whoa.
We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore, Miss Lestrade's statement about what she did, or didn't hear, is at odds with the facts.
Yes, that petty thief's statement is clearly flawed. Lord Van Sykes.
Yes, he knew. He knew all too well that there was an inconsistency in Miss Lestrade's statement.
It would seem words of thanks are in order for my learned friend.
What are you talking about?
You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Her words are convenient untruths, nothing more.
That's not what I was saying.
He's dead right.
How could the victim possibly not have boarded the omnibus? That makes no sense whatsoever.
And this girl is a pickpocket. Alright, this girl's a pickpocket. Let's not forget that.
Okay, Granny.
Ugh, she didn't even say anything.
I didn't want to judge the dear little mite just because she had some rather naughty ways. But I must say, I can't abide liars.
No, neither can I.
Mr. Foreman,
I didn't want to judge the girl just because she has some less than salubrious ways. But I must say, I cannot abide liars.
we don't even know if she's lying yet. Ugh.
Mr. Naruto, that's 5 jury members leaning towards guilty.
Let's make it 6. Well, your consideration for others is refreshing, my Nipponi's friend. To the considerable troubles you have spared me.
You didn't even put that up to your lips. You just splashed it against your face.
Yes, very refreshing.
Ah! What are you playing at? Have you forgotten who you're working for, you useless Eastern Amadan?
Ew, gross.
This is carnage. It's perfect.
Juror number 2 is the only one left.
Mr. Naruto, the way this is going...
I know. If we can't find some new way to convince everyone of Mr. McGildy's innocence, the judge will rule and we'll have lost.
I very much wanted to believe the words of one of London's most respected gentlemen. But those of us in service know we must accept hard truths.
Yes, the witness's last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this whole case. What are you saying?
Counsel? I'm sorry, sir? Whatever do you mean?
Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to prorogue in my adjudication. Explain yourself at once.
When the accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question, the victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, the carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand.
And yet the victim's body was found inside the carriage.
If this petty thief's words are to be believed, how do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin from the omnibus?
There is actually one thought I have.
There's only one way to explain how the victim came to be inside the carriage.
This is kind of hard, because I believe these are both technically true. There's only one other place they could come from, right? If it wasn't the carriage door opening, it had to be the skylight door. I don't know if the skylight opens, so let me just check that really quick. It's quite a large skylight. Yes, large enough to afford a good view of the roof deck. Doesn't appear a handle of catch, so I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin. However, you can certainly see inside the carriage from this opening, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin. Witnesses would have been able to see clearly. There is a catch here, though. Okay. So my thought would be, he was killed on top of the carriage, right? And then dropped through the skylight below into the thing. And while it was light enough, it was dark enough, rather, that we have to think like, oh, there was a lamp so they could see inside the carriage, that maybe people wouldn't be able to see on top of it. But would that make our Hatter friend complicit in the murder too? I guess so. I don't know.
If the door wasn't opened even once, the only explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way. I wondered what new fantasy you would come up with in your blind panic. But behold, the omnibus is here for us all to see. Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door, the other only has windows. Fixed windows which cannot possibly open. In short, there's no entrance to the cabin other than the door.
But there could be. There's one possibility you haven't considered.
Oh, really?
Yes, one other way inside that isn't the door. Another opening, the use of which allowed the victim to appear inside the enclosed cabin.
All right, counsel. The defense will identify the location for the court. Here is the omnibus on which the incident occurred. Where on earth is this entrance by which you propose the victim entered the cabin?
The answer is obvious. It could only have been the skylight.
But I say, the skylight?
Your ludicrous proposal almost has me lost for words. However,
the skylight may well be large enough for someone to pass through.
So you claim, but do you have a shred of evidence to support your addle-brained theory?
Both Mr. McGilden and Miss Lestrade said the same thing in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor.
Yes, which has already been explained, as the sound of the victim falling from his seat having been assaulted with the dagger.
Yes, it has, but would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise as the witnesses describe? A noise loud enough to cause Miss Lestrade to let out an involuntary cry, in fact.
Good gracious!
Perhaps, in fact, that was the moment that the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into it.
You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin? That's simply impossible.
How can you be so sure?
Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight as you say, the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. And yet, not one person made mention of such events in their testimony.
Well, yeah, that's true, but... Okay.
Mighty humbled fella. Make a wee comment here.
Mr. McGilden?
To be sure now, the two fellas who were sat on the roof that testified afore said nothing of the victim falling through the skylight. But, seems to me, my lord, that 'tis not so much a case of them not saying, but, 'tis a case of them being unable to say. I think perhaps the two fellas do be having something of a compelling reason not to mention what happened. But would yous not agree, fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Oh
my goodness! Surely not!
Those two chaps on the roof?
You mean the ones who stuck the knife in that man were...
Ah!
We were here the whole time, you know. Just what exactly are you insinuating here, you blitherer?
Oh, I'm so sad. What are you doing?
You rotter, he said, you rotter! What are you insinuating?
'Tis a flaming outrage. I've got a good mind to give you a blinker in a minute.
He'll give a shiner in a minute, he said. And so will I.
Mr. Fairplay!
You're effectively accusing me, a city gentleman and a well-respected banker.
And me, a very angry hatter.
A mad hatter, you might say?
Suggesting someone like me could have stabbed that man in the guts, it's It's a disgrace. It's scandalous. It's... I protest. I protest in the strongest possible terms.
That's right. I protest too about you, you rotten scoundrel.
Order. It's not the time, witness. I will not permit this wanton invasion of the stand. Return to the anteroom at once. But this is beyond reason, my lord. It's outrageous.
It's very hurtful, you know.
My lord, if I may comment.
Go ahead, Lord Van Zyx.
It was the defense that incited this outburst from the witnesses. My learned friend has seen fit to abandon all protocol and accuse the witnesses without proof. Accuse? I never intended to. It seems, young Nipponese, that your command of the English tongue is wanting. Huh? Think I spoke pretty clearly. You proposed to this court that the victim fell through the skylight of the roof deck of the omnibus. That hypothesis cannot possibly stand without the rooftop passengers being aware of the events. You have branded these gentlemen liars. You have intimated their criminal guilt. Well, fair play already did lie. In our British courts of law, that is what is termed a baseless accusation. I know I was rash to put this idea forward without any actual evidence, but you can't just dismiss it without a second thought.
What are you wasting time for? Get him to testify.
This poor bench.
I thought there was something fishy about that hat from the moment I laid eyes on that fellow. We have to see this matter through now, one way or the other.
If there's filth and rubbish in our midst, we must dispose of it at once.
Devastating.
What's happening, Mr. Naruhodo?
The spectators in the public gallery they're in a complete frenzy.
Mr. Fairplay and Mr. First. My lord?
They're like, oh my god, what is happening?
You will take the stand again and make another formal testimony. In reference to the indictment brought by the defense.
Yes, my lord.
I didn't come here for this.
There's no time to think this through. All I can do is keep pushing forward. But I will keep pushing forward next time. Because I'm not doing this right now. It's already been an hour and something. Well, that was quite a thing. I never thought about the skylight. That makes a lot of sense, actually. And Lestrade enters the story. I guess we did kill off Dr. Watson in the first investigation, so it would make sense to bring someone else in. I wonder if we'll see more Sherlock Holmes characters. I don't remember very many of them. I've only read like one Sherlock Holmes story, and it was a long time ago. But, you know, it would be nice. Wouldn't it be nice to like and subscribe? It would make me want to sing some more. I kind of spoke that into my glass of water. Probably sounded bad. They didn't come in through the door. They came through the skylight. I don't know. I didn't have a rhyme. But yeah, do it. Like and subscribe. Do it. Do it now. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.